You are now tuned in to Power Podcasts. Peace and blessings, beautiful souls. I am Brandi L. Bates. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share these podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Podomatic.com. You have to listen to them while they are fresh pressed, and find old archived podcast talks on YouTube via the I Am Brandi Bates YouTube channel. Hashtag Power Podcasts. You can find me on Twitter at Soledad Francis and on Instagram at Brandi is winning. I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your presence, your powerful, powerful presence, your essence, your energy, your time. Because I know you could be listening to 100 billion different things, but you are listening to me, and I'm grateful. As Earth, we're going to talk about something today that we're going to go a little deeper down the proverbial rabbit hole. We're going to go skin deep, if you will. But as Earth morphs into new realities and enters more chaotic states, your physical body as you know it, your physical body and your mind, the complex that is you, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, the physical body and the mind, the whole being, is being and will continue to be deeply challenged in the coming months, in the coming years, and certainly in the coming decades. Not to be on any doom and gloom, but we just got to talk about these things, because otherwise you keep going in circles and you don't see the forest for the trees. And so we're talking big picture today, macro and micro. How do you restore yourself in the face of personal and global challenges? So micro and macro, right? What's going on in your immediate world, in your life, in your relationships or lack thereof, financial problems, physical ailments and diseases of the physical body, and then geopolitically on the political stage, who's your prominent political leader or president or guru or minister or what have you, whatever your following and leaning and proclivity is, right? How do you restore yourself in the face of challenging times, challenges, conflict? What types of fruit, if you will, what types of fruit are you picking from the cornucopia of human experience, right? So is it healthy? And does it reinvigorate you, or are you just picking from the low-hanging fruit and scavenging what you find on the ground, right? So, for instance, if you experience anger with someone, or because of something that has occurred as you perceive it, right, the neurochemical reality of your body changes in that instant, in that moment. Literally. There are biochemical, neurochemical things that are happening the minute you get angry. That's why when you walk in a room, you can walk in a room between two people who are just now fighting. Even though they are no longer saying words, you can sense the energy. It's that thick. That's because of what's released on a neurochemical, biochemical level. Stay with me. I promise I'm going places today. But so for instance, you experience anger. In that instant, the neurochemical reality of your body changes. Now, understand, if this anger response escalates into hatred or deeper and deeper levels of those negative types of emotions, then you have entered a toxic dimensional reality. And due to the nature of the interconnectedness of everything, including dimensional realities, you will be sharing the same energetic and vibrational frequency with all beings who are on the same energetic wavelength. Are you following me? Okay, so ask yourself, what types of dimensional tendencies am I picking up? What type of dimensional tendencies are you picking up throughout life, work spaces and places you have worked, relationships you've been in, people and spirits that you've commingled fluids with, right? Your Kama Sutra, tantric, sexual relation, all of these things are affecting you and projecting onto you and coloring you and influencing your dimensional tendencies. And by the term dimensional tendencies, I'm referring to the fact that all human beings have deeply ingrained from a cellular level to a perceptual level, to an emotional level, these perceptual and emotional tendencies. We all have them, like assholes, right? We all have them, right? Doesn't matter who you are, you have these tendencies. Now, the challenge with dimensional tendencies is that they can color your life with thought forms that are not of your conscious creation. Okay, do you follow me? So that you didn't come up with it. You know, the old folks used to call it generational curses. That's a generational curse. The mother had it, the grandmother had it, the great-great-great-grandmother had it, and now the babies have it, the daughter has it. The same proclivities and tendencies. Stay with me, okay? Right? So if we don't deal with that, okay, not of your conscious creation, but they're driven by forces which have hijacked your unconscious mind, you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it on that level. For instance, stay with me. I know I'm kind of going left field today, but for instance, unresolved grief is created when we don't allow ourselves to work through feelings as they arise. Okay, if we deny having painful feelings, or maybe you were abused, maybe you were molested, maybe you were neglected, maybe you weren't taken care of when you were a child, all those things that you picked up in your physical reality, in your childhood, in your formative years, in the years that influenced and colored and shaped and molded you, understand they don't just go away. These feelings, you could try to put them on a shelf. They don't evaporate. They do not dissipate into the sky, into the ether. Understand that unresolved feelings, right, gnaw at your energy on an energetic level, gnaw at your being, the core of you. They prey on your emotions and they debilitate you. So over time, they materialize into these painful issues and circumstances and situations and occurrences. We repeat the same relationships, even though they can be abusive in nature. Case in point, a lot of people who were abused early in life, they will either become an abuser or they will be attracted to an abuser or an abusive type spirit, someone who verbally abuses them, physically abuses them, or they become that themselves. Several things are going on beyond genetics and nurture and nature, right? But I'm saying that this is coming from somewhere, you know. Dimensional tendencies. Dimensional tendencies are also meme-like. And in that sense, they can be contagious. You can catch them. What we say, you catching feelings. You catching feelings. Not trying to catch feelings. Contagious. If someone is caught up in hatred, for example, anyone with a dimensional tendency towards hatred or bent towards hatred or anger or, you know, a bully, a thug, right? Whatever the reason might be, whoever will be prone to be stirred by hatred as well, because you're caught up in that energy. You know, children who grow up in very volatile households, how that affects their development. There have been studies where they've studied how this has affected these children's growth and affects them for life, even when taken out of that environment, right? So understand that the physical universe and multiverse are in fact illusory in nature, okay? It's a holographic projection of light. It's like a virtual reality of somebody else's world, okay? Our reality. And you can see light, you can feel light, you can feel the heat radiating off of light, but light cannot be grasped or held in your hand, right? Again, illusory in nature. Illusory, stay with me. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Your physical body is also a holographic projection, and it's part and parcel of a greater hologram you call the cosmos. Okay? There are strings of energy that connect you to the universe as well as to the highest realms of light. Strings of energy, string theory. Okay? These connections between you, the cosmos, and the realms of light are part of your innate nature. You must sense yourself as a galaxy of stars. When you attain higher states of consciousness, the illusory nature of your physical existence and your physical reality will become clearer. When you attain these higher states, that's why I'm going here. That's why I'm in left field. When you attain higher mind, when you walk in Hathorian ways and being, when you start making a Hathorian moves, you move to higher states of consciousness. That's gonna it's gonna infect and affect your reality. Now, as an embodied being, right, your meat suit, your consciousness is anchored in sense perception. Okay? Thus, you're always living in two worlds simultaneously. A world of exquisite freedom, unbounded by time or space, and your embodied existence that binds you to earth. You are always living in two worlds at once. Okay? In other words, you can dream of flying in the dream world. We're going to come back to the dream world. You can dream of flying in the dream world, But on this planet, you can't physically fly, right? You can close your eyes and visualize yourself in Dubai or Shanghai, even smell the sandalwood spices and taste the sake. But when you open your eyes, you're home or on the yoga mat, etc., wherever you are. You in your prayer closet, you outside, you in your car, you in the Uber pool, you in the party lift, right? You back here. But when you close your eyes in that visualization and you allowed yourself to be taken mentally in the mind first, you were there, right? So let me get into this because I got a long way to go and a short way to go there, and I know you have things to do today. So who is or who was Hathor? First off, okay, understand that she is an archetype as opposed to this actual literal woman who walked the earth. The same as Isis, Osiris, Ptah, Moshe, etc., etc. Hathor, as we know it, Hathor is an ancient Egyptian goddess associated later with Isis. So who a lot of us call Isis. Her older name in a earlier world was Hathor. And earlier was Sekhmet. Some of you are familiar with Sekhmet. Stay with me. We talking about the mythos, the myths tell the story. There's truth in the myths. The myths, Sekhmet, Isis, Hathor, okay? So eventually, she has come down. The archetype has remained the same, although through the years she has come down and her name has changed with different cultures and different generations and different people, So she was considered, basically, she was the primeval goddess from whom all others were derived. So when you talk about the nation of gods and earths and the goddesses, this was the main goddess, the first. And she's usually depicted as a woman with the head of a cow or ears of a cow, the horns, okay? Or simply in cow form. You have the Indians who worship the cow, they worship the bull, they worship, okay? This is representative, folks, of the age of Taurus, okay? Stay with me. The age of Taurus, like we have the age of Pisces or the age of Aquarius, the Aquarian age, we had a Taurian age. The age of, that was the name of the time period. Don't get too deep. The age of Taurus spans approximately the period between 4400 and 2200 BC. It is the age defined by the sun being in the constellation of Taurus on the spring equinox. My Taurians. I love my Taurian. I love me a Taurus. Oh God. So religiously, the age of Taurus in Egypt or in Kemet coincides with the worship of Apis, the bull deity. She was a bull deity. The most important of all sacred animals in Egypt was the bull. You see her everywhere, all over the walls, the hieroglyphics, in the art, in the bronze, the bull. Stay with me. And there's a reason why the United States, on Wall Street, they have this raging bull. That's how you know you're on Wall Street. That's the financial capital of the world. That is a reason. There's a reason they chose that symbol and the symbolism of the bull to put it on Wall Street, the financial capital of the world. Stay with me. I'm about to braid it together real quick with the quickness for you. So the term Hathor is actually a Greek term. Comes from the Greeks, Plato and the Greek gods, Aristotle and Socrates. Now, the Egyptian term for this goddess is Heru. Some of you are familiar with Heru, okay? All the same thing. Hathor, Hathorian, Isis, all the same archetype. Now, she was one of the most important and popular deities throughout the history of ancient Kemet. Okay, the Hathors, that was Hathor, the archetype. The Hathors were known as a group of interdimensional, intergalactic, hyperdimensional beings, if you will, who actually predate Egypt by millennia. Understand, when you see some of the figures in some of the hieroglyphics, certainly with the Dogon tribe, certainly with the people of the Yucatan, the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, all over the world, they have the same figures painted on their ancient walls, the original art, the original stories and myths of the ancestors who came down. They were all interdimensional, intergalactic, and hyperdimensional realism. You see beings that have bodies like humans, but their heads are the head of a bull or the head of a hawk or the head of an eagle that told stories, and that's how they passed down mathematics, science, social stuff, all through the lessons of the myths and the beings. Okay? All right. So, when the Hathors, okay, this Hathorian Mystery School, when they started working in Egypt, in Kemet, ancient Kemet, they worked through the Hathor priestess cult, okay? Some of you may call it a cult, some say the mystery school. Those who are a little enlightened, you follow me, okay? The Hathor goddess became associated with fertility and sex. Sex magic. You hear about sex magic. This comes from the Hathor priestesses in the Hathorian priesthood. Okay? Stay with me. The Hathor goddess, because of that, became associated with fertility and ecstasy and bliss and orgies and all that good stuff, right? Pleasure, sensual pleasures, feels good, smells good, tastes good, look good, right? When the Coptic Christians came into Upper Egypt, they defaced all the figures of Hathor. They blew the noses off, as if you will. They thought, this Hathorian mystery business was blasphemous to the Christians, the crusaders, the murderers who stormed the world at this time. They didn't understand how sexuality, think sex magic, tantric sex, Kama Sutra, sex magic, sex cult. They didn't understand how all of this ecstasy and bliss were connected to the God force. That was not in their understanding. So you find that in Egypt, a lot of the figures of Hathor were defaced off the pillars and columns. A lot of us, you don't even realize that the goddesses were ruling civilizations because they blew the faces and blew the head, blew the breasts off of them. All you see is defaced rock. To this day, many of the powers that be are still devaluing and defacing the sacred feminine. The best book on this topic was written by Muada Ashby, Egyptian Yoga. Mine is so torn up and raggedy, but it's still got good shit in it. But in the Hathor temples, stay with me, the priestesses would go into this trance state and they communicated through the dream world, through dream time, with the goddess Hathor. Okay? Hathor, Hathorian Mystery School, Hathorian Logic System. We making Hathorian moves. They would communicate with this archetype. Same way some religions will go into the trance state or chant and get into, they believe that they can summons the spirit of Christ or summons the spirit of the Virgin Mary, right? And say they saw a vision of the Virgin Mary. A lot of Catholics will say this, okay? There's a reason for this. In our psychological language, we would call a feminine archetype, being in communication with that archetype would put them into communication with the Hathors. And the Hathors, understand, are androgynous actually. Just like when you see the people depict the Baphomet as it has both breasts and it has masculine. It's androgynous. It's both. It's both and all. There's a reason behind that, okay? So the Hathors could then instruct and teach the priestesses uninterrupted. It's kind of like, let's Skype, right? Let's FaceTime. So you can get the message clear as to what we're trying to tell you. And so a similar thing happened with initiates in Egypt, whether they were in the Hathor temple or Hathor priesthood or not. Similar to how, again, some of us go to confess to a priest or imam or the pastor, go talk to the bishop, right? Who has or should have gone into the inner sanctuary, right? The upper room to get guidance from the spirit world or from Christ or from God, the Most High, or whatever you call it, Krishna, whatever. Now, when I speak of Hathorian moves, understand this is alchemical in nature. But, it can be used for healing your body, relaxing your mind, to improve your performance in business, in your career, as well as in your general relationships, okay? With regards to love and even platonic relationships. It benefits the whole body, the whole mind, right? Because sound is the primordial basis of all creation, Hathors work with people through vocal sounds. There's a reason for that. The world was created through sound first. That's why we add sounds and music and a soundtrack to these podcast talks, because we know the power of harmonics and harmonic healing and how it subdues you into receiving something on a subconscious subliminal level beyond my words that I'm saying to you. The world was created through sound first, folks. So whether you believe in the Big Bang theory, right, or the Most High verbally saying, let there be light, the sound came before the light. Musical scales were all my musicians, my pianists, those who read music, sheet music, right? Musical scales are related to Fibonacci numbers. The word octave comes from the Latin word for 8, octave, octopus, 8 legs, right? And that refers to the 8 tones of the complete musical scale. Stay with me. Musical frequencies are based on Fibonacci ratios. I always talk about the Fibonacci sequence, the golden mean, pi, right? According to Dr. Leonard Horowitz, 528 hertz, 528 is a frequency that is central to the musical mathematical matrix of creation. He calls it the mathematical matrix of creation. More than any sound previously discovered, the love frequency, that's 528 hertz. It resonates at the heart of everything. It connects your heart, your spiritual essence, to the spiraling reality of heaven and earth. In 2011, how many of y'all remember A. Marie? In 2011, multi-Grammy Award nominee A. Marie, she produced, her album was entitled Chromatica, okay? Chromatica Volume 1, and it was produced in 528 hertz frequency to broadcast genetic healing. A. Marie. Now, 528 breaks down to a 6. Numerology. The icon for physical manifestation is 6. 528. That is 5 plus 2 plus 8 equals 15. And 1 plus 5 equals 6. 15, 1 and 5 equals 6. This is using Pythagorean math, folks. Stay with me. The symbol 6 reflects the spiraling down from heaven into the wholeness of earth. Okay? That's what that means. In fact, the love frequency, 528 hertz, it can be found fundamental to broadcasting all matter and energy into reality according to the laws of physics. So just like the number 7 signified by the union of spirit and matter, 7 is spirit and matter, okay? The union of 3 3 and 4. 7, the union of 3, the triple nature of the spirit, combined with the triple nature of the spirit, physically, mentally, spiritually, combined with the 4 elements of matter, earth, air, fire, water. Simply described, the sacred geometry arises out of the set of numbers from the Fibonacci series or the golden ratio. Some of you know it as solfeggio or solfeggio. And again, Hathorian sounds, Hathorian moves. Stay with me. I'm about to bring it together. I promise you I am. Now, through the years, down the decades and centuries and centuries and centuries, since ancient times, it's been used in the planning and construction of religious structures, your churches, your temples, your mosques, your tabernacles, your altars and monuments, as well as sacred spaces, and the creation of religious art. We see this. Consciously or not, humans are genetically programmed to respond to these sacred numbers, ratios, sounds, and shapes. We just are. So that's because physical reality is a consciousness program created by digital codes. Numbers are numeric codes that define our existence. Human DNA, our genetic memory, is encoded to be triggered by digits at specific times. Yes, you too. Those codes awaken the mind to the change and evolution of consciousness. It's like on some Manchurian Candidate. In the movie Manchurian Candidate, they would say his name, you know. It's like as if the sound of your name rolling off somebody's tongue, they learn to go in and alter and break up your personalities and alter you, and then be able to program through that sound. This is what happens when we see certain sequences of numbers. Now, going back to what I mentioned earlier, a line is being drawn in the sands of human consciousness, folks. And this line is nothing less than the demarcation between those who uphold the schism between matter and spirit, your physical world, and the invisible spirit world, spirit realm that you can't see, but that is determining everything and why shit is the way it is. As long as they're able to keep shit stirred up, you know, this duality between matter and spirit, as long as it's perpetuated the way it's been perpetuated by all the world's major religions and those, you know, who don't. What side of this line you stand on will determine to a great extent what you are open to in terms of planetary and personal transformation. The threshold for anyone from the lower vibrational worlds into the upper worlds is first and foremost through the heart. Through the heart first. That's why they say, create within me a clean heart. You got to come correct. You got to get self-correct before you can expect to be given anything, before you can receive any abundance of anything great, any type of prosperity. You got to get your mind and your heart right. So understand that this transit of consciousness that we're experiencing is essentially, it's basically an inner journey from the lower chakras to the higher chakras. Everything is about the heroic journey. It's only when you both transcend and transform your personal fixation on security, sex, power, that upward spirals will open. You know, the basic needs humans aspire to have met in abundance, right? We want food, we want shelter, we want security, we want sex, and we want power. The lower mind, that's what the lower mind is focused on. Everything you do is encapsulated around those things, having security, sex, and power. It's the basic lower ego. the entrance into this upward spiral of consciousness occurs when the heart chakra becomes the heart chakra becomes energetically open and permeable. You know, you hear people get real deep. You got to open your third eye, right? You got to open the third eye has to be open. Same thing. You have to open your heart, get your heart right, get your heart clean, and open your heart. The paradox and the difficulty is that you live in a dualistic universe. This universe that we live on is dualistic. And virtually any action you take is met by a counter force. We just know that in physics, right? This paradox and difficulty is like a metaphorical grain of sand in an oyster, right? It's irritating. The shit you going through, it hurts. It's painful. It's annoying. But through the process of self-evolution, the irritation, the duality becomes a pearl, and paradoxically, something of value emerges from that which was problematic. Are you following me? Understand, you must create this pearl, if you will, this pearl of self-transformation for yourself. No religion, no master teacher, no guru, no ashram. None of that can do it for you. No one can do your push-ups, your reps, your drop sets, or run your laps for you. Many of you will find greater opportunities for frustration just in your day-to-day life. You're just noticing. I don't know. Maybe it's, when you're getting older, when you begin to become more enlightened and your eyes are open as to what's going on, the real game as it's being played. But this is because actions taken will increasingly not lead to, the result anticipated. Even those of you who are, intellectually gifted and masters of manifestation, even you'll find blocks and unanticipated hindrances due to no cause on your part. It had nothing to do with you, but it's coming about due to the actions or inactions of others. Yeah. As well as unanticipated problems that are caused by, the increase of chaotic events in the world around us. So when you find yourself at your wit's end, so to speak, your challenging times, conflict, if you have cultivated the positive attractor of appreciation or gratitude, you can use it to intervene into your own emotional turmoil, if you will. That's why when a person has a habit of being in anger, there will be an energy pattern most often in the liver, because the organs hold different emotions, and anger is often held in the liver. Yeah, not only is the liver doing its thing biochemically, right, but the egg of energy, the aura that surrounds the body, also has a block that is related to the liver in that case. Harmonics are there and yet not there. Tangible and yet not tangible. They are present and yet not noticed until the shift begins to occur. So first, our hearing changes. We can perceive things that are hidden. Next, our voices change. We can create sounds that were not previously there, right? They say the power of life and death are in the tongue, in your words, in the sounds that you're creating and making. Then our consciousness changes and other realities come into our awareness. Are you following me? The Tibetan monks who use chanting as a means for healing and breakthrough, they've known this for centuries. The Tibetan monks, the chanting, there's a reason for that. Understand that Earth has hidden histories and forgotten etheric intelligent civilizations. So much shit has happened on this planet that we don't even know about, that we don't even know, that we don't have no idea about. So for instance, when you see a repetition of numbers, 1111, 222, 555, 666, 911, 911, your DNA is being activated on some level. I'm about to hip you the game real quick, right? When you see these numbers, it's like a trigger. Remember I mentioned the Manchurian Candidate? That snaps on. You are remembering that you are now returning to higher frequency vibration, also called the return of the feminine energies, or rebirth, or Christ consciousness. Some of the hippies call it Christ consciousness, dude. Evolution of consciousness into total awareness. Stay with me. Most digital codes that evoke memory are double digits or countdowns. That's why you countdowns such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, 4, 3, 2. That's why they do the countdown for New Year's. The countdown, watch the ball drop, the countdown. Because that relates to 0 point merge. And this is how hypnotists enter your subconscious mind. It's a literal gateway or portal. They showed a little bit of this in the movie Get Out, when the mother was using the sound, relaxing him with the sound of the teacup, and then fall. She opened the gateway into his subconscious mind. Okay. For instance, 33 represents Christ consciousness, universal nurturing, social consciousness raised to a world-class global responsibility, master teacher. 33 represents master teacher. Christ was 33. 33 is a higher octave of 6. Again, the flower of life, creation, Kabbalah. 22, a master number, again, that is a higher frequency of 4. 22, it contains the secrets to many esoteric questions, evidenced by the fact that there are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, 22 pathways in many versions of the Kabbalah, 22 cards in the major arcana, 22 carries with it psychic gifts, heightened sensitivity, intuition, psychic awareness. 22 also represents practical idealism, genius, creator of the future, power on all levels, master of the material, philanthropy, universality, international direction. 2 plus 2, 22 is 4, it's time. 40, which breaks down to just 4, humanity's movement through time. All of these, they're codes. I'm decoding it. It's codes. Even sometimes you'll hear names mentioned in the news, in the media. The name will be a code, folks. Yes, this is how they get into your subconscious mind. 1111, that's another one. It's a number activation sequence. So when you see the numbers 11, 111, or 1111 on your digital clock, you're given that moment to focus your energy and drop into a space of manifestation. It acts like a doorway, a gateway, a portal into the higher realms of manifestation. Use the test to take the test. Use this shit. Use this science. Take that minute to hold higher thoughts. Think to yourself, every time I see 1111 on my clock, if it's in the middle of the night, I'm going to use that to turn on a code to start manifesting shit. Hold higher thoughts on what it is you want to bring forth in your life. Because 11 is a number of masters. You will experience a sudden awakening, after which reality is never the same. You are going to create clarity, healing, and balance for yourself. Do you follow me? This is your journey alone, as it is for most souls. We're all here together, and yet You came here alone and you will leave here alone. Once you open the digital door, there is no going back. Your soul will automatically and quickly move you from level to level of experience until you get it, quote unquote. You got to keep going through shit until you pass the test. That's the whole science behind reincarnation. You got to keep going through these levels until you learn and you get it. The karmic wheel stops at that time. Your consciousness is expanding, and therefore you will manifest faster and with greater comprehension, becoming more aware of the meaning of synchronicities that will become more and more frequent. Understand, when you experience deja vu, you're experiencing the convergence of past, present, and future simultaneously. It's a real thing. It's remnants from another timeline, another dimension. We call it an anomaly because we can't wrap our minds around basic principles of quantum mechanics. Some would even say this happens to help you remember that you are a soul spark in a physical program that is about to end. Evolve back to higher consciousness. Earth is entering, folks, a perilous period in its upward movement or ascension. Many aspects of your reality are changing and will continue to be changing right before your eyes. Get into this Mandela effect. Get into it. You're going to see time is at warp speed right now. More rapidly than you could ever have imagined. When you were a kid, remember how summer seemed to just linger for months and months and months? And now it's like you blink, your ass got to be back at school, right? So understand that due to the acceleration of time, all the transformation of our civilization is going to increase exponentially. Both the deterioration and degradation as well as the ascension, they're both happening at the same damn time. So, what we call transformation literally means moving beyond form. Transform. Thus, the structures of our reality, even the thought forms and beliefs and idiosyncrasies and dispensation of the time, the zeitgeist of the time, all of that's going to change. The external reality of life itself is going to undergo all this rapid change. And that's what we see happening. The old folks used to say, it's end times. It's end times, right? That's what they're talking about. A greater fluidity of consciousness is required. Because, it's like the wire. Protection of your vibratory essence is vital. You are entering harrowing times. We are entering challenging, conflicting, perilous days. And yet in this complexity are immense opportunities for your own personal evolution, for your own greatness, for your own mastery. But you have to stay in a constant state of gratitude no matter what arises. No matter what. Constant gratitude. That's making Hathorian moves. In other words, the feeling, the state of appreciation, being in appreciation, having gratitude is an antidote. It's a mental and emotional protection against chaotically induced stress responses. The more often you practice all this, flip your emotions and your mental state into the feeling of appreciation or gratitude, the better you'll become at it. Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's an emotional brain skill, just like any other skill. All skills, mastery is gained through repetition. We have to build the neural circuits in our brains before we can count on the response to be there when we most need it to be there. See, a lot of y'all get into this so-called conscious community, and you start reading a couple good books, and then you wonder why your pineal gland, quote unquote, right, is still calcified. You wonder why you can't get the effects of meditation and yoga and qigong and deep breathing and visualization the way other people are saying is going down for them. Because it takes time, and you got to work on it every day, all the time. But going back to those harmonics and numeric codes, once you see your numeric codes, you have activated something in your DNA and your DNA codes, and they will continue to appear until you get the message it's time to move on growth-wise. You might dream also about the numbers linked with things you do not understand as of yet. You wake up at the same time every night with those numbers on your digital clock, 11:11, 3:33, the numbers usually signal changes in the patterns of your life. It's literally like a computer program. So when you start seeing more and more angel numbers more often, you know you're onto something. You're moving up or down by octaves spiritually. And it's easy to forget who you really are and what's truly important to you if you're spending all your time with other people. See, we're not only influenced by the opinions and actions of others, we also pretend to be something we're not. Either to fit in or to dominate. That's human nature. And alone time is a way to clean the slate, to wash ourselves from the contamination of the world and look behind our own mask to see what's really there, who's really there. Solitude and gratitude. How do you navigate your life through a sea that is filled with fear, hostility, paranoia, constraint, lies, manipulation, lack, just not having enough, right? Just too much month at the end of your money? How do you navigate through these challenging times? Solitude and gratitude. Solitude and gratitude. Let's use the metaphor of hurricanes or cyclones, because they're going to be increasing in number and intensity too. And if you are at the edge of the storm, you are exposed to the destructive power of the wind and water. When the wind and water come together, they create chaos. But if you are in the eye of the storm, it is paradoxically calm. Ironically, the eye of the storm is perfect peace. So that's why we say, go within and find the eye of the storm and find your perfect peace. You can see the edge of the storm in the circle at the far horizon, but in the center, all is still and all is calm. This center point of the storm is what you must find in yourself, okay? From your perspective. This is the path of the spiritual master. There is no one who can teach you this. There is no one who can save you from the storms that are upon you. Both the external storms, right, of our weather systems and climate change or what have you, or our geopolitics, our political storms, prison industrial complex, racism, sexism, all the isms in our economics, right, our world system, as well as earth changes, but also internal storms. How many of you know cancer is an internal storm? Anytime the body starts to fight itself in any shape, form, or fashion, that's an internal hurricane, basically. Your psychological and emotional conflicts, as you live in the midst of a dissolving fallen world, as it changes into a new world that is not yet come. How do you prepare yourself for jobs that don't exist yet? You don't even know the education to get. How do you know how to prepare for what's to come when you don't know what's to come? Most of you have not learned how to dance with chaos. You haven't learned how to dance with chaos. Hathorian moves are about dancing through the turmoil. There is a battle taking place on earth, folks, for your very spirit, for your heart and your mind. Anything you want to be good at or devoted to, you got to give your all. Blood, sweat, and tears, spirit, heart, and mind. You can't be half in shit. But there's a battle for your mind. Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Remember to remember. Rise upward in yourself to take the high spiritual ground, to find in yourself the spiritual courage, to not succumb to the downward spiral of this fallen world, if you will. To find a way to live upward in yourself, even in the midst of increasing chaos, difficulties, and seeming disasters. You have to make Hathorian moves. Be the lotus in the mud and shine anyhow. Limitless and beautiful. I call it seeming disasters because interdimensionally, the events that take place in your life, all the catastrophe and the storms and the famine, loss of jobs, miscarriage, and so on and so forth, and they're multidimensional in nature. And certainly from the localized space of your being that is, locked into time and space, your embodied self, these events are, it's traumatic. It's difficult. It's difficult to deal with. And to us, it's a catastrophe of varying degrees. But from the standpoint of your interdimensional self, your higher mind, your soul, the spark of consciousness, however you want to describe it, whatever you want to call it, these events are opportunities for immense growth and acceleration of spiritual evolution. It's not the situation that you find yourself in that binds you. It is how you view it that imprisons or frees you. Remember in the Matrix, the Oracle told Neo in the Matrix, do not try to bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon. Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself. The spoon exists only in the Matrix, which really means it doesn't exist. It's a lesson for Neo in the movie to help him realize that manipulating the Matrix isn't about focusing on an object and trying to change it. You can't try to change the system as if it's a spoon, because the system doesn't exist. The object doesn't exist. So he can't change it. He has to change himself. Do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. Step out of the box of perception that you've been sold. Thanks for listening, folks. My thoughts and blessings are with you. Have an amazing day. Peace.